Here's a Capital District Spotlight on Business from iHeartMedia.
I'm Bob Belber. I'm the General Manager of the Times-Union Center. I work with SMG and work very closely with Albany County.
Daniel McCoy, Albany County Executive. Albany County residents own the Times-Union Center, and SMG manages it for us and does an excellent job.
Thank you very much. So SMG has been working with Albany County since the building opened in 1990, and we've gone from the Knickerbocker Arena to the Pepsi Arena and now to the Times-Union Center.
We constructed the arena. The construction started in 1989, and it was completed in 1990, and Frank Sinatra was our first concert, and SMG and Frank both came on board almost 30 years ago and did a great job that first night and have continued for almost the last 30 years.
It's been a great relationship with the county, and I can't say enough things about how they've invested in the building and really kept the building such a jewel in the community. Credit goes to Dan and his leadership because that investment that's recently been made with the renovations to the Times-Union Center has really made a difference in helping us get a lot of bigger acts that you've probably seen in the last few months with Mumford & Sons and Elton John and Blake Shelton and Ariana Grande and so forth. But kudos to Dan and the county for what they've done to keep that building so nice.
It was a hard decision because usually after 25 years you pay off an arena. The last thing you want to do is go back to the taxpayers and saying, hey, we got to invest over $20 million back into the arena when it only costed $35 million to build, less than 30 years ago. But to keep it fresh and to bring more people in downtown Albany and to attract people to Albany County, it was the right thing to do. And we had to give it that vibe. That's why we did the LED TV outside, the two big screens. We got another project we're going to be announcing very shortly in front of the arena. We're doing a facelift on the street. So there's things that we're doing to start the entertainment when people come down, but feel like a bigger city than we are and a bigger county that we are. But it was well worth it. And like Bob said, just the different stars that have come here, but just the NCAA, the MAC tournament, the other things that, Aurora Games, we're having the first ever international women's game here in August, and they selected us because of what we've done. And again, it goes to what the city has also done with the Capitol Center, the Renaissance Hotel, and Willington Row, and everything feeling like a nice little vibe going in downtown Albany. Really reflects the Capital District in a better light.
Absolutely. I'll ditto that. The facilities that now are the Capitol Complex with the Albany Capitol Center and even the Empire State Plaza tied all together with the walkway to the arena is really the reason the Aurora Games chose us. They took a tour of the facilities and they absolutely loved the market. They didn't want to look anywhere else. And this is going to be a huge international sports competition event. It's going to be broadcast on ESPN worldwide and it's going to be live, prime time, 3 hours a night for 6 nights. So you can't get much bigger than that.
No, and when we talk to families, and we really wanted to incorporate the atrium into this project, and when people, the biggest complaints we used to get that it was open, there was no heat, obviously in the wintertime, but most importantly, in the summertime, it's not air conditioning. So we came up with a design that really works and it flows with a rain curtain that I believe is the biggest on the East Coast.
It is.
And on top of that, when people come in, when they get out of their car, they're starting that experience, and they feel part of the crowd, they feel part of the gem of downtown Albany, and it makes people want to come back because even after this great recession we were in 08, and obviously still talking about it over 10 years later, people couldn't afford to go on vacations. So to go on a vacation was too expensive, but to go to the Times-Union Center and see a great act, be it a concert, sports event, Siena basketball, who we love, the Saints are there, or just wrestling, or just a kid show, Disney on Ice, people could afford it. It was affordable to go bring a family of 4 or 5. You could do it cheaply, you could park, and it's convenient. And people love the convenience that we have great parking downtown Albany. They get in and out of the arena, and it's all about the experience. But most importantly, people that come visit here, we want them to stay in our hotels in downtown Albany and in Albany County, and to really experience the magic that's going on at the Times-Union Center.
So the Albany Capitol Center is managed by SMG also, and the great thing about that is many events that will use both facilities. For example, the NCAA basketball will use the Capitol Center for practicing, for a practice site with a basketball court in the Capitol Center. And then it'll be converted to a fan festival space where we'll have mac and cheese fests and Tastes of Albany tied for the experience for the patrons coming into the market. And other large events, conventions will use both facilities. And there are occasional times where we'll even use the Empire State Plaza plaza, and you'll use all of the Capitol Complex venues. But that facility has been just a terrific enhancement to the venues in downtown, and the state of New York built that on that site. Originally, it was going to be further down the hill, but this has worked out really good. That's the right spot for it. It's the right size facility. The conventions we have coming in are appropriate for the building, and economically, it's doing better than budget for the first 2 years. And the number of events is over 300 a year now. So there's not many days where we don't have an event at the Albany Capitol Center.
When we were going down the road with the Capitol Center and they rate-sized the project, and they went from Broadway to the Times Union, it was more of an innovative way of thinking because we're tied into the Egg, we're tied into the Convention Center. You have Cap-Ret right down the road. You have the Palace Theater, which is another great events place. And, really working in a partnership to make that work out, it works out well. And, for Bob to sell it just not for the Capitol Center, but to sell the Egg, the Convention Center and the Egg, and also our Times Union, which I want more money coming to our Times Union Center. Don't get me wrong, but it's a great partnership working together to make a magic experience start for people.
Yeah, the success has been, especially even on the financial side with both facilities, has been far greater than comparable markets. And I won't get into specifics on dollars, but I know many of the arenas throughout the Northeast, we're beating them hands down as far as the financial side goes. Many of them break even or actually lose money. And I think over the last 25 years, we've averaged about $1 million per year in net operating profit for the county. So it's definitely doing way better than most of the other markets.
Well, for the taxpayers, that's my number one concern. It's the constituents that I represent. There's roughly about 320,000 people in Albany County. And it's always that $1 million question. We have an equity agenda that we're doing. We have a mission that we have to put out. But to let people know that this is really sustaining itself. I think last year we made a profit of $1.6 million in 2018. This year, because of the concerts and what we've been doing, is may come close to hitting the $2 million marker for the first time ever, I think, in history, right?
There was only 1 year we went at $2 million. It was 2000, I believe it was.
2000?
Yeah.
But again, investing back shows that people that if we invest in our property and we invest for attractions for people to come to our area, it offsets our local restaurants, it offsets our hotels, it offsets Ubers and Lyfts, and a variety of other things come into play. That it's really not just about the Times Union Center. We are the capital of New York, and we always get known for that, good, bad, or different. But this really showcases is that we're not just the capital of New York, which I'm proud of, but more importantly, we have so much here to offer.
Downtown businesses they do thriving business as a result of 16,000 people for a concert, whether it's an Elton John or a Mumford & Sons. When that many people come to downtown, they're looking for a place to eat. They want to have a cocktail before they go into the venue.
One of the things I did want to touch on too, we got Comeback Building of the Year from the Building and Owners Managers Association. So basically we took a 30-year building and reinvented it without knocking it down, and really showing that if you invest back in your property, what you can do to not just highlight the area that you're in, but to the whole Capital District. From my standpoint as county executive, it was important to have that mixed use. It's not everyone wants to go to concerts and sporting events. It's to have that mixed use where people can come and utilize the arena more, come out with their families. And the arena football has taken off better than we anticipated. People missed it. They show by attending to every football game. They love what's going on with it. And it's not just the football game itself, it's the activities. You got to come outside. It's what's happening in the street that amazes me. And the people just not just down there having some drinks and dinner, they're mingling, and they got their jerseys on, and they're talking a little bit of trash about the football game about to happen and the different players. But it always comes back to me, it's about the experience. That whole, we redid the walkway. That was important to me. Right now we're redoing the garage. We're going to fix that. There's things that, again, starts that magic, that experience when you're coming into the arena, and feedback from not just the constituents I represent in Albany County, but people that use the facility over the years have no problem calling us up saying, hey, how come there's no hand railings at the bottom, lower levels? We put them in, and at the time they didn't put them in because they were afraid it would block the stage. There's things like that make a difference in someone's life. Bathrooms, like when you're in the atrium, one of the arguments was, well, where do you go? So on the second floor, very convenient, we put Murphy overhead doors, and we open it up so people can get into the bathrooms and get out. Adding more space so we can do a little bit more entertainment outside. That was crucial. Or sitting area, so people can come down and get a bite to eat, and they can people watch. People who here doesn't like to watch people, right? People like to go to events events and they like to watch the crowd. And that's the same thing. People come early and they sit back and they just watch. Airmart does a great job. They come out and they'll sell anything from popcorn to hot dogs to pretzels, whatever, chicken fingers. And people can sit there and just get something light to eat before they go inside. Out in front of the arena, we redid all the restaurants that are tied into our Times Union Center. We redid the face of it. We did the sidewalks over. We gave it a new vibe. We put the LED lights out. And importantly, we redid all the inside concessions. And we continue to invest back in because, what Bob was saying earlier, the more we seem to put into it, we're getting back. And sometimes that's hard because, I have a $700 and something million budget that I have to adjust every year. And then you're sitting there going, do you invest money like this or not? When you're making tough decisions to not raise taxes and stay under the cap, to highlight this as not just as building of the year again, comeback building, but the amount of great feedback we had, but most importantly for not just Bob's company, SMG, and us, it's really the proof's in the pudding, and I hate to say it that way. So when the money's coming in and you're making record profits and you got so much great feedback from people, we did the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy to park and get there and get out. It's no more than 5-10 minutes and you're out of the city to get back to the suburb where you might be living. But the other side of this is there's a lot more people that are starting to live downtown, and there's more residential living downtown, and there are things that are opening up as a result of what's going on with the events and with the major things that are developing there. For example, the Aurora Games, August 20 through 25. If we're lucky enough to be able to have the Aurora Games stay here on a permanent basis every 2 years, and we have to see how it does on the first one. If there's a ability for us to locate an official training center for them, imagine the companies that will come if that's the official women's training facility for the world. You'll have athletes coming in from Ireland, from whatever other countries to train in this state-of-the-art facility. And then you're going to have nutrition companies, and you're going to have all kinds of fitness companies that will want to also set up places and corporate headquarters, and you'll see growth in the business sector as a result of the spin-off from having something like that on a permanent basis. The fact is, this is something that no one else has ever done. It's the first time the Aurora Games is taking place. You have the best professional female athletes from around the world, over 15 countries, sending their very best. Olympic medalists, gold, bronze, silver. You've got Grand Slam champions in tennis. So you've got the very best athletes that are coming in. Now our region, our capital region and surrounding areas really have an opportunity to show how our building can fill up and support women's sports in this first time ever. And that's what's going to help us keep it here. If it's successful and we have enough people in the stands and it's a great broadcast vibe, then it'll stay here.
I do want to say this about SMG staff. They do an excellent job. It's not an easy job with Bob and his team, Doug and everyone else that's down there. Watching them operate when they go through different events and go down there for stuff, it's customer service. So really, it's the experience people have, and I gotta say, even from the security, from Jack and other people, Bob's very good at addressing issues internally as well as externally when it comes to addressing issues. And I do want to say, your staff, as much as I do like to joke around with them and kid with them, they do a phenomenal job dealing with the public.
Thank you. I will tell you, out of the 230 plus buildings that SMG manages, and I'll be, obviously one-sided here because I'm in Albany, but I really do think we've got the best staff in the company, and I've overseen many buildings while I've managed this building, and I've got to know a lot of the staffs elsewhere. And this is not to say anything negative against them, but we've really put together a team that works well together, and there's no infighting, no drama. That it's just you do your job, you do it well. We had 24 events in the month of March alone that went from one changeover to another. The Aurora Games is going to be 6 nights in a row where we're going to change over from one sport to the next every single night. And the time-lapse video on that's going to be pretty cool when we get it done. But I think the other thing that is great about the facility is it does create jobs. We've got a very diverse group of employees that work at the facility. As you can imagine, there's a bunch of jobs that are overnight that have to be there when the show is over and everybody's going home to their bed, and they're just arriving to make sure that the building is changed over so the next day we're ready for Empire football or for a concert or what it might be.
And I gotta say, the stage handlers union does an excellent job. Jimmy Anzano, the business agent, runs it, and though they like to yell at us a lot of the times, they really, like Bob said, they change things over quickly to get into the next event. And a compliment to you and your staff is as long as I've been county executive, it hasn't really changed much. And that's a compliment because you're in the industry where you're there at nights, you're there all weekends.
Yeah.
It's, you're time away from their family. And like he said, we had such a busy month. And, I stopped in and I'm seeing the same people there. I'm like, oh, these poor people, man. Yeah. Because they were there every night and they have to be. They have to be there during the day to operate and they have to be there at night so everyone leaves the building. And
that's a good point that you bring up because many of the people have been there, 15 years, 20 years. And these are, every level of the building. It's not just the directors and managers. It's people that have been there and love working there. And it's not, yes, it's money and it's a livelihood and they need that for their families. But there's also a pride factor when you work in these facilities where people just love going there and being a part of it. And it's not that they get to see, whoever it is that's on stage. There's a pride factor. It's almost like they own part of it, if you know what I mean.
It's even executive cleaners, Mel, they take a lot of pride too. And it's like a little army in there, and it's fine-tuned to make sure everything happens seamlessly. And again, we don't want people visiting the arena for whatever event they're there to even notice any problems. We want them to come in there and just be happy the minute they walk in and be happier the moment they leave.
Dan mentioned customer service as being something that's so critically important. And that goes on both the front of house as well as the back of house. And so, to Dan's credit and the county's credit, there are some improvements that are going to be made to the dressing rooms, the hallway backstage that the public usually doesn't see, the locker rooms for the sports teams. Much of that hasn't been addressed in the last 25 years. So the money that's going to be put into that to bring that up to where it should be will help us yet again to get more artists and more events into the building because they're only here. Imagine an artist that's on a tour, does 26 cities, comes off the bus, spends an hour, maybe 2 hours at best prior to the show starting and maybe during intermission or whatever in that locker room or in the dressing room. And at the end of the day, if it's a cinder block room and it looks like your garage, they're going to remember that. They may not want to come back next time. Versus if it's something that's nice and you've got the right catering in there and you've got a few plants in there, all of a sudden it's nice and it's homey and they like it. They'll come back and they'll talk about it to other people. So the improvements are so important. And Dan was the first one to say, hey, I want to take care of that dressing room area so that those artists have something nice when they get off the bus.
People don't realize when people are touring or even WWE that's going around and they get to go to all these great places in this country of ours. They don't see anything but the inside of a hallway or a dressing room. They come off the bus, and they might look at their bus as they're driving through the town, but how much you really soak in of the city of Albany or the county. So, when talking to Bob, I said, not only do I want the fans to have that great experience, I want the acts and the stars and that are coming into the building to have that same experience. So when they leave here, they can say, I don't remember much about Albany, but I got to tell you, that dressing room, it was a nice experience.
I remember being backstage when Mick Jagger came off in 2005, came off the stage. And the thing that hit me the best was he said out loud to anybody who would listen to him, that's the most fun I've had since the 60s. And I think that's kind of cool to see, artists of that huge, spectacular popularity express how much fun they have playing in our building and the kind of, play they get off of the crowd and the enthusiasm that they get. They have such a great job. I mean, they love doing what they do. And the same thing with, Sienna and the coaches of Sienna. They love coming into that building. If they could practice there every day, they would love it. We can't obviously do that. We need a couple days to do other things. But there's a passion towards the building from so many people. I'd love to put a plug in for Gary Holly because Gary Holly has been selling advertising in that building for 29 years. And former Sienna basketball star, former Major League Baseball star, and has been working for us selling sponsorships and advertising for a long time. And the companies that are advertising in the building, and one of the people that are here at the studio mentioned it earlier today, They love the fact that when they are at the Albany Empire and there's something going on and somebody gets hurt on the field, and then there's an Ortho New York ad that goes on the video scoreboard. And so there's things that happen that are choreographed and planned. And the video scoreboards, Dan mentioned the outdoor boards, they're 15 feet high by 70 feet long each, and almost take a whole block up of video. So when corporate sponsors put their 15-second TV spots out there, which, by the way, also has full audio on the street. So you're seeing it just like it's on a television, but you're standing on a street. So imagine if you're in Times Square in New York City, which is the only other place that I can think of where it exists. You can see the Today Show on the big boards, and you can hear it while you're standing there. Well, we have that in Albany, New York. That doesn't exist anywhere else. So once again, for Dan's credit and for the legislators of Albany County, they saw what this could do in the way of changing the vibe of the city. And I think it really has changed the vibe in downtown.
Absolutely, it has. I'm Daniel McCoy, Albany County Executive, and I have to encourage your listeners, come on down, feel the vibe that's going in downtown Albany, especially with the Times Union Capitol Center and the Egg and the Convention Center. There's so many exciting things going on, and to really enjoy that vibe and to just be people watch, come down and have some popcorn, be part of everything going on, stop in and see an event at the Times Union Center.
And I'm Bob Belber. I'm the general manager of the Times Union Center, and we can't be happier with the improvements that have been made by Albany County. And the residents of the Capital Region need to come down and see where their money has been spent and how great it has been spent in such a wonderful way. And the events that are coming in, they can check out timesunioncenter-albany.com, which is our website, and see all the great events that are being announced. We continue to announce big shows and attractions, and support your Albany Empire. Those guys are awesome. They're 4-0. So let's make them go without a loss for the year. And obviously Sienna, we want them to come back with their new coach and be great. But we need the support of the Capital Region and have them come down and see this beautiful facility.
Bob, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.